Okie dokie. Trying to. Hi, Robin. I see you, Robin, on Facebook, and I'm also live on Instagram at the same time because now I'm fancy and technical and have two processes of making this happen, even though I'm not really fancy at all. But yes. So, hi, Miranda. Welcome. Looking forward to chatting with you guys today. I'm trying not to get distracted by all the millions of cameras that are here. Oh, look, this like makes a little surround around my head. Not on this camera, but there. If I put it there, it does, though. No, that looks weird. That's fine. Okie dokie. So just gonna give it a few moments before we begin talking about what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to just leave you right here for a little bit. Are you able to hear this background music that's happening? I don't know. I don't necessarily want it on there, but I'm just curious if that's something that you can hear. So let's see. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna say, hey, Philip. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know, Miranda. So I'm just gonna give it just a couple of minutes, and then I'll begin what I'm gonna be talking about today, which is gonna be the power of belief and as it relates to mediumship. So give me just a sec. I'm gonna just leave this running for just a moment, and then I'll be right back. Hi, Melinda. Okay. All right, so I think I'm just going to begin. Excuse me. So what I wanted to talk about today is the power of belief, and as that relates to mediumship. So what I feel that really is about is our belief systems really impact the way that we experience our spiritual awareness, the way that we experience our understanding of how we connect to the other world. So what is it that we're referring to when we're talking about belief? Well, basically, my understanding of how belief works is largely to do with whatever beliefs that we have are going to impact our experience that we have with the other world. So I know that there's a lot of people out there who, well, believe that other people are capable of mediumistic awareness, but maybe they don't believe in themselves that they are able to connect with this mediumship, or that they're able to even connect with their spiritual awareness. I feel very much that this is largely where a lot of us get caught up in, a lot of us have challenges with, is our belief in ourselves and our belief in what we are able to do. And so what does that relate to? That relates to confidence. So our confidence is going to play a large role in regards to how we come into a communication. So anytime that I'm going to be working, anytime I'm going to be connecting with the other world, whether that's psychically or mediumistically, I'm always going to be taking my awareness to myself first, checking in with me and what is it that where am I at? I'm doing that self check-in. Do I believe that I'm capable of doing this work that I'm about to do, right? So we have to look first at ourselves whenever we're going to be making a connection with the other world, so that we can believe that it's possible for us to do the work. If you come at it with the belief that you can't, that it's impossible, that you're not able, or that you trust in the other world, but you don't necessarily trust in your ability to connect with it, all of that's going to play a role in how well you're able to actually connect with spirit. The other thing I'm going to mention too with the belief is what is inside your belief system. Okay, so it's one thing, what do I believe about myself? But the other question is, what is it that I believe about the other world? And this is a really, really big one when it comes to your mediumistic unfoldment. If I have the belief within me that I have to protect myself, I have to, stave off these scary, dark spirits and attachments, and that I'm going to take home spirits and things like that, what that will do is create within you either a fear or a resistance to complete surrender. And I say this as a very important bit of information because there are so many people out there, especially in the New Age world, that teach that you have to be, protecting yourself, you have to watch out for the dark entities, you have to watch out for attachments. And I really want to highlight this as something important to note, because if you have that fear, then you will never be free in your mediumship. You'll never be able to just allow yourself to be free and surrender to the power of the other world, because you will be too fearful that something could go wrong, or that something could get you, or that something like that. And I see this with a lot of people, especially when they first come to me, that they have this sort of belief system. What I find too is that as they develop and as they listen to, the advice that I'm giving them regarding these kinds of belief systems, they tend to then change their belief systems and realize it's actually quite unnecessary for me to believe that these things are possible to happen to me, these negative dark entities. Because again and again, I will reiterate, there is nothing that you have to be afraid of from the other world. It's this side of life that you have to be concerned about, but it's not the other world. So your belief systems regarding what can happen to you as you open up, what can happen to you and all that stuff, what that will do is create a filter through which your awareness has to pass through, which the communication has to pass through, and then unfortunately makes it so that now it's being changed in some way. Now there's an edit that's happening with your awareness. So because of your belief systems and what it is you believe, it's going to have an impact on your mediumship. Whatever you believe is everything has to pass through that filter. If you believe, there's things that can get you, if there's, that sort of thing, it comes back to this idea of stimulus, right? So whenever we're moving into a communication, we're going to experience a stimulus from the other world. If we have a belief system that says that there's something to be concerned about or worried about, if we start to feel a buildup of pressure around our throat, we may then start to be afraid. We may then start to feel that, something's grabbing my throat. Whereas a person who doesn't have the fear-based belief would then say, this is just going to be someone without the fear-based belief is going to say, oh, this is just a buildup of energy and they're just trying to work on my ability to communicate or something like that. Does that make sense? So that's really important when it comes to the understanding of your belief system and how they impact your awareness. So I feel that's really, really important to mention. Also, your belief system is going to open up what you're able to experience when it comes to the other world. So a large part of what we can experience, of what's possible, comes through the power of our belief in ourselves and the power of our belief in what's possible. So what I really recommend a lot of people to do is have a look at what your belief systems entail. Do they make room for the power of spirit to take you from one experience to this heightened awareness? Does the spirit world in your mind have the power and the ability to create these kinds of phenomena? Because when we have the belief that these things are possible, that's actually what makes them possible. When we have the belief that, okay, there's only these kinds of things that can happen in my reality, unfortunately, it can tend to limit what you can experience, particularly when things are of this subjective nature. So I highly recommend that for anyone who is thinking in the realms of mediumship or psychic ability, I want you to really take this idea internalize this, that we should never limit a limitless power. And so some people might call this limitless power God. Some people might call this source, spirit, whatever you're going to call it. We want to make sure that we're not limiting it in some way, saying that that is too big or too strong or too out of the realms of possibility. If we do that, we're then closing our awareness to the possibility, because I do believe that our belief systems play a huge role in what we can experience and also what is possible to, well, and through what we can experience, then it unfolds what phenomena or what magic that I think is available to us when we work with the other world. So I think that's really, really important as well. I think too, with our belief systems, the better objectivity that we can have with our understanding of the spirit world, where we are clearing our belief systems in some way, where we're opening the possibility that, okay, maybe this isn't the way that I'm interpreting it, but rather it's the way that I am just experiencing. Basically, everything has to pass through your filter, right? So the less of a filter that you have, the better you're going to be able to be clear and objective with the information that's coming through. It takes away the interpretive part. So we're just now learning to experience rather than do something else with the information. I hope that makes sense. Don't know if I'm making sense, but hopefully that makes sense. Because it's so vital and important for us to develop our belief, one, in ourselves, two, understand what our belief systems are, and three, how do those belief systems relate to our spiritual understanding? That's such a key thing, is we have to understand how are our belief systems impacting our understanding of our spiritual experiences that we have. The more that we can let go of our our belief systems that maybe hinder us or limit us in some way, the more freedom we're going to get to experience when it comes to working with the other world. And when it comes to working with the other world, freedom, relax, reduced tension, all of these things are so vital and key when it comes to connecting in a clear, specific, and accurate way. That is largely what I wanted to talk about, but any questions, any comments, any concerns that you want to know? Hi, Lydia. Nice to see you in Spring Hill, Florida. Lovely for you to be joining. So I'm just going to open it up to any questions that we have regarding our belief systems. The other thing I want you to also do is to look back on the belief systems that you had in the past. So I know that there's many of us who maybe came from either a Christian background or Catholic background, or some sort of Judeo-Christian sort of belief system. And what I see so often is as someone is in the beginning of their development, these things can start to raise their head in some way. So some of these old internalized beliefs, so whether or not you actually believe in it, there's always that little sort of sense of doubt within, is like, oh, what if this is bad? Or what if this thing can get me? Or what if, there's always this what if thing that can happen in your subconscious. So it's really important to start to analyze and look at, how is it that maybe my past beliefs are also still impacting? What am I still believing that maybe I can revisit or relook at and see, is this what my past belief, is it accurate? Does it accurately reflect the experience that I have when I'm connecting either with the other world? Is it some way negatively impacting all of this? So I feel that this is something that's super important to really look at and reflect on within yourself, because the more that we can remove some of these belief systems that maybe cause fear or cause anxiety or cause concern, the better off you're going to be working in this way. Because with these belief systems, any kind of fear, anxiety, or concern is going to inhibit your ability to be free within your mediumship. So I feel like that's super, super important to mention. So definitely do that. Look at who you are, look at what you're made of, and look at what you believe you're capable of. All of these things, if you can get these all in alignment, your belief system, your confidence, your, what underlying beliefs are there as well, this is all going to play a huge role in making sure that you're moving further in your mediumship, rather than something that may be blocking you or keeping you from the freedom that you want to feel when you're working with the other world. So I just wanted to come on here and mention some of those things. I don't know if there's anything else that I really want to mention. But again, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we can... Here, let me just see here. Oh, I just realized I was not scrolling through all the questions, so let me just see. Right, so we have Melinda. Hi. Lydia, hello. Louisa. That's good. I'm glad you can't hear the background music. I was hoping that you couldn't. Timothy, hello, Timothy. So good to see this. Yep, very good. Someone just said to me the other day, there is God, whatever that is, to you, and everything else is fear. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that to some extent, especially if we define God as love, if we define it as that essence, and that is ultimately our experience of God, which has been my experience of God. Once I remove any kind of fear-based sort of beliefs around it, definitely that experience is very much the presence of God, which is love, ultimately. So, well, at least that's how I would define it. And then everything else is fear. Yeah, it's fear if... the thing is too, though, is we have to remember that we within ourselves have that power. We also have that same love. We have that same essence that exists within us, that I think is important to remember, that God isn't this thing that's outside of us. God is within us. God is within all things. God is within any aspect of life, because God is consciousness. We are that God. We are that. We are a part of that. We are an extension of this. And that is that sense of love. That is that sense of reality of your spiritual nature. And that's something that I think we oftentimes forget. And this is what I'll always be harping on for any of you who end up working with me later on down the road. We have to remember that really what's important is our spiritual awareness of our own spiritual nature, right? So we want to be aware that our love, our what we would call God, is actually just us. It's just our experience of that, and it's that greater consciousness that I think plays a huge role in that experience and our understanding of that connection, that consciousness, that greater spirit. So what is God? God is love. I don't believe that God is this judging thing that sits on a cloud and tells you, you're bad, or, any of that sort of thing. I think that it's that experience of love. I think that's when we really start to understand and really begin to touch the essence and the presence of what I would say would be considered God. It's through that sense of love. So Melinda, I agree that would be a good example or expression of what God would be, because yeah, God is love, and everything else that doesn't align with that would be fearful. So I think that's important to mention. Other thoughts, questions, opinions, anything else that comes into your awareness that you're curious about, wondering about, anything with your mediumship, thoughts and feelings, because I'm just here. I'm just chilling. Also, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, including my mom, because that's where I'm going right after this, to go spend some time with her. But also want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and especially to those who, you know, not Mother's Day isn't always easy for everyone. So some people maybe have lost someone. Some people may have not maybe don't have good relationships with their children, or they're really wanting to be a mother, all of those things. So I just want to acknowledge all of that. And with that, just know that you have my love and my compassion for whatever the situation is, whether that's positive or feels challenging. So I just want to mention that too. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Very, very appreciative. But I think I'm going to just leave that one there, especially because it's Mother's Day and I need to go see my mom. So what I want to mention too is, again, just before I go, I am going to start an online class, a mediumship development class. I'm going to try to make it weekly. We'll see how we go with that, but it's going to be through Zoom. So that is going to be coming, as well as going to be doing a working on my mentorship program, which is going to be ridiculously amazing. And that's, just my opinion. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with all of you when that does come out, but it's not going to be coming out until much later in the year. But I do want to just give you guys a heads up for anyone who may be interested in doing that. Just make sure you let me know. Also, if there's certain things that you want me to talk about, certain topics, questions, things that you find interesting, just let me know and I'll be sure to mention it and bring it up. If you have questions about your development, about mediumship in general, psychic stuff, and actually I'm an astrologer too, so if anyone ever has any astrology questions, I'm happy to answer that too. But anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you so much for working with me and chatting with me, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future. Again, I try to do them at 1 o'clock today. I had a reading, so I had to wait. But I try to do them at 1 o'clock on Sundays so that you can just get a little boost of inspiration and love. So thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Again, let me know in the comments anything else you wish to hear about, questions, let me know. Okay, God bless.